Hi, this is Jana. I'm here in White Bear Lake, Minnesota to see firsthand just how Magnepan loudspeakers are made here in America.
Hi, I'm Wendell Diller of Magnepan. I began marketing in 1973. I mean, that's a long time ago. The LRS, or Little Ribbon Speaker, is my favorite speaker, not only because of the low price. If you hear a properly set up LRS, and there's the key, you will recognize the sonic character of our famous flagship 30.7. In this video, we will show you how an LRS is made. There are three separate but parallel starting points in the production of the LRS that will later be merged together into a pair of Little Ribbon speakers. First of these starting points is the creation of the frame. From a blank piece of MDF, a frame is routed on a CNC type machine. The edges are clean and sanded smooth. T-nuts are added and pressed into the frame. Using contact adhesive, the metal strips are adhered to the routed frames, which adds structural integrity while allowing for a slim profile. Then finally, the frames are run through a conveyor paint sprayer, which finishes the routed frame assembly. The second starting point is the beginning of the creation of the actual Magnepan driver. The perforated steel pole piece, magnetic pole piece, is punched so that when it's brought together with the magnets are in alignment with the perforated holes in the pole piece. The pole piece for a magnet assembly is to provide the efficient magnetic path for the north and south poles of the two magnets. The magnets are sprayed independently from the magnetic pole piece, the perforated pole piece, and they're then simply bonded together. So the magnets are all in their proper place. The north and south poles are all in their correct alternating north-south, which creates your planar magnetic field. Now you've got a completed magnetic circuit. The next step is to put the attachment border for the diaphragm, which will be done at a later station. So that is glued and bonded to the perimeter of the perforated magnetic pole piece. And at that point, it's ready to go to the next station, which is applying the film to this magnetic assembly. I'm going to do a thought experiment. We're going to convert a conventional loudspeaker, conventional dynamic driver into a quasi-ribbon driver, loudspeaker like the LRS. It's got a magnet, it's got a voice coil, and it's got a cone. Now we're going to take that big magnet, we're going to cut it up into very thin slices, and we're going to put it on a perforated steel plate. We're going to take the cone and roll it so flat it's only a few thousandths of an inch thick, and then we're going to stretch it over this magnetic assembly. So now we have, then we take the voice coil and we flatten it to a very thin foil, and we attach, going between these narrow magnets, we attach it between the magnetic gap in a serpentine fashion. Voila, you just converted a conventional cone speaker into a quasi-ribbon. So it follows the same laws of physics, where you have a coil inside of a static magnetic field. You run the current from the amplifier, it causes it to move, it moves the cone. So the principles are exactly the same in a quasi-ribbon. The first step in the filming station is to clean the magnetic assembly so that there's no foreign objects that would be trapped in after the film is applied that would create distortion and buzzing. So that has to be carefully cleaned and vacuumed before they're ready to apply the film. Multiple magnetic assemblies, in this case the LRS, are placed on the table. Then the film is attached to the rollers. Now, first, I want to point out that this film is the same film that electrostatic speakers use, and the way that sound is generated in electrostat in a magnetic system like the LRS quasi-ribbon, the principle is the same in that a thin film is moving in the air. The difference is electrostatic speakers use electrostatic force. Quasi-ribbon uses magnetic force. It's tension to a very specific tension. We cannot hit precisely the tension that we had designed for, so it's slightly greater than the desired tension, and that's why loudspeakers need to be broken in. So the tension will eventually get to the specific requirement that we need for the proper bass response, but it will take some time. Then the table is raised so that the diaphragm, the film is bonded to the magnetic assembly. Next we move on to actually applying the quasi-ribbon foil. Attaching the quasi-ribbon foil to the film is the most demanding part in terms of dexterity, because the foil, especially the tweeter foil, is delicate, and running it back and forth on that fixture and the process of transferring it to the film is very demanding. It's handmade, but it has to look perfect, and I can tell you, I can't do it. I usually break it, especially on the corners. You have to be very skilled and practiced to be able to do this efficiently, and then when it's applied, all the ribbons are straight. It looks beautiful. A loudspeaker crossover, fundamentally, they all do the basic same thing, which is divide the signal into bass, mid-range, tweeter if it's a three-way system. But it's all about dividing the electrical signal into the appropriate driver. And that is done by a combination of inductors, capacitors, resistors. It's a circuit, and the simple fact is it just divides up the frequencies which is appropriate for each of the drivers. The terminal plate, like the crossover board, is another sub-assembly for all the connections, and it flows along with the frame, driver, crossover board, terminal plate. They all flow into the final assembly. But there's one other aspect I want to point out, and that's the steel bars which are attached to the magnetic assembly. They are bent at a very specific shape so that the magnetic plate has a curvature to it. For maximum efficiency, we want the foil, the quasi-ribbon foil, close to the magnets, but not too close. And since base frequencies require further travel of the diaphragm, that precise shape is critical to getting the maximum efficiency out of the movement and its proximity of the quasi-ribbon foil to the magnets. The final step before the loudspeaker is dressed, it goes into the final sound for sound check on the computer to see that each speaker is checked, by the way, but to make sure that each speaker is within our specifications. Finally, the naked speaker is dressed with the fabric and trim combination requested by the customer. What is under the fabric is a mystery that has been revealed in this video. To me, this is my form of retirement. I need a goal. I like something challenging and fun, and if they'll keep me, if they'll let me hang around here, I'm just going to keep going until my mind goes or my body parts fall apart. So this is what I love to do.
That's all from us here in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. We hope this video gives you some insight into how panel loudspeakers are made right here in the USA.